Hey, my name's Matt Carlson. My friends call me Matty C. I've spent my life dancing around a dream. It's been out there waiting for me to just come and snag it for decades. Lately, it's been calling out louder than ever. And I'm a little worried that time might be running out. I'm a middle-aged dude living an average life in the American Midwest. I've had the same career/day job for 23 years. I've been married for longer than that. I have 2 kids, 2 adult daughters actually, a cat, a mortgage, and more than your typical amount of regular, everyday, daily American bullshit that we all have to contend with. For all of that time and more, before I was a dad, a husband, a business owner, a mortgage holder, and a supposed grown-up, for all that time, I've been a songwriter. I've played in bands for almost 30 years. Even in my very early 50s, I play live and record regularly in my bands, Harborcoat and the Stick Arounds. This is the work that I was born to do. And frankly, I couldn't even stop doing it if I wanted to. In the early aughts, there was a moment when my band, the Pantones, seemed poised for the next level. Despite a very humble, self-recorded approach and self-financed release, we were getting some buzz, some radio play at college and community stations around the country and even across Europe. We'd taken that buzz and parlayed it into a couple of festival performances and appearances with semi-notable acts. We were on the way up. The conventional wisdom was that if I was willing to quit my job and go on the road and leave my family behind for the prospect of very little to no money, I could go chase my dream. At that time, I was the sole income in our family, and I will be damned if I was going to leave my kids behind for somebody else to raise them, especially with no prospect of any financial reward whatsoever. And even if I had been able to access that financial reward, I'm really, in retrospect, kind of glad I didn't have to. That would have been an awful, horrendous choice to make, and I'm glad I didn't have to make it. I'll take being a dad as the first and most important slot on my resume any day of the week. But that doesn't mean that being a musician isn't something that still burns within me all the time. Eventually, the Pantones fizzled out, and all the band members kind of went their own separate ways. And frankly, for a time, I considered chucking in original music altogether. I'd taken my meager swing for the fences and I'd fouled out once or twice, and that was fine. It was okay. And then my dear friend Jeffrey Gower came knocking. He came along and told me he was starting a power pop band with some mutual friends of ours and asked if I was interested. And thus, the Stick Arounds were born. That union has been the most fruitful, invigorating work of my life. My songs and contributions to the Harborcoat recordings and live shows are the best work that I have ever done as a musician. The songs that I have written in recent years are far superior to the songs I wrote in the Pantones era, though I love them greatly. And during that time in all of these bands, I've had the good fortune and the good luck to travel across the Midwest of this country. I've had any number of really kind and generous things said about me and my work. I've been really fortunate. But something is still missing. In 2020, stuck in the doldrums of the pandemic, my dad died really suddenly, and it sent me reeling. That loss and the grief, coupled with COVID, the economic toll of losing my business, and various other factors, sent me into a really dark and deep depressive episode that lasted for the better part of 2 years. And during that time, I used creation of music as a way to distract myself, as I have done so many times before. But when I was finally done this time with the Joy is Elusive record by Harborcoat, which came out in the fall of 2021, a record that I'm still incredibly proud of, I felt kind of empty. And after the initial rush of putting the record out and getting some of the buzz and really kind of diving into things, feeling good for a while, the rush faded. And I went back to being depressed and unproductive and in a really, really bad place. Then in the early weeks of 2023, after years of medication, therapy, supplements, exercises, and more, in a moment of clarity, I realized that I could have one more chance to fulfill this lifelong dream. That I could embark upon a tour, humble though it may be, across the eastern part of the United States. And more importantly, the possibility of being able to stand up and ask people to help support me with their dollars, and for me to make a portion of my living with my music, which I've never had the courage to do before. Being an independent creator and asking for your help is terrifying. I've told you that before if you've listened to the pod or if you've paid attention to my Substack. But still, I set to work booking these intimate acoustic shows in houses and other private spaces. And as summer hits its apex, I'm going to be hitting the road. And over the course of 17 days, I'm going to play 16 shows in 10 different states. I'm going to drive more than 3,000 miles. And I'm going to go from town to town, singing a bunch of my own songs and a bunch of songs written by other people that I think will want to have you sing along. So it would mean a lot to have you be a part of this. Tickets are on sale now for a bunch of the dates. I've got a bunch of special merch that's on sale. And those purchases will help to fund this dream. And maybe if we do this right and I get lucky and things go well and I do a good job, I'll get to do this again and I'll get to do it again. But right now, let's just do it once. So will you help me? Will you go over to phonophorerecords.com/shop and buy some merch from the new tour? Or go over to phonophorerecords.com/house shows and buy a ticket for one of these shows. And you can even buy a merch bundle that you can pick up at the show. For a little bit of money and a couple hours of your time, you can help build somebody's dream. Maybe my dream's not what you believe in. That's okay. But if you believe in it a little, I sure could use your time and your dollars. It's scary for me to ask, but I'm going to be out there for 16 days, playing a whole bunch of shows all over the country, and I can't wait to see you out there. Links and everything are below. Please go pick up some tickets and some merch today, and I'll see you out there on the road. Thanks for helping an old man's dream come true.